Guys, it's wonderful to have you, all of you tonight. Welcome to the Royal Youth Mentorship Program. Yes, our speaker tonight is a new friend of mine. Tonight is no exemption. We have Joseph Jogona, Maina. Of course, he's talking about, of course, how we can build ourselves, using building wealth. Thank you very much, Joseph. We are really, really honored to have you. We do not take it for granted. So we are all ears. We have our notebooks and pens, and we will give you the very best of time.
Asante sana, Matthew. Good evening, everybody. I hope I can be heard from all corners of this country. Matthew forgot to tell you that he met me on a platform called LinkedIn, where serious people meet. I don't know whether it's that seriousness that has got me to this table today, but I'm glad to be here. At least I have known two, three people already. I have known a Mary Blessed, I have known a Mundia who is in Meru, and somebody who is in Mombasa. The long form of ICPC is International Center for Professional Collections. When I am not wearing the hat and advising people to take up debts, I am on their neck, nawachota. So I speak from both ends of the divide. Once in a while, I am teaching them how to get facilities, but when you misbehave, you also find me when I have a different face. So that is basically me. When I'm not doing this, of course, I'm a family man, and I am glad to be here. I was happy when I was called upon by Matthew, because the first thing that hit me was he runs a mentorship program. One of the things that I always do is to ensure that I give back. Giving back is not in terms of money. You can give back in terms of skills so that you can pick up the next person. I am humbled to be in front of you on Zoom. So I will start out by telling you a bit about what I do locally, where I am head of credit risk in First Idea Consulting. So karibuni nyote. In case I go too fast, feel free to raise your hand on the side. In case you have a question, put it out on the side chat. Then the other thing, of course, there are always exercises, because I think I have done more Zoom meetings than anybody in this country, trying to ensure that people learn a new skill. So, mukiona nimekimbia, mukimbizane na mimi. So I will start by telling you what FIC is about. FIC is a consulting firm incorporated in Kenya. Our office location is on Bibilica Office Suites on Dennis Split Road, for those who live in Nairobi. It is opposite the Kenya National Examination Council offices. So I don't live in Nanyuki. I was closed up here by the cessation, by the government. So you already understand where I'm coming from. So we provide consulting services in the private and public sector. So this means we can advise the government, we can advise the private sector, which is banks, SMEs, individual, etc. So we specialize in two things, which is risk management and risk training. Part of the many Zoom meetings that I've been doing have been on training, trying to demystify risk, and also proving to be a resource when it comes to credit risk. So that is basically a brief of First Idea Consulting. So today's topic, I changed it and tweaked it a bit. The first thing was how to create wealth through loans. Loans is a small chunk of debt. But when you talk about using debt to create wealth, that will be our topic for today. I hope you're ready. I hope you have put your safety belt on as I start. So whenever I start, I have to give you a course overview of what you expect from me. So the first thing will be my introduction. I want us to talk about the three pillars that make you sound like a successful person or make you a successful person. So, but basically today we are going to insist on one, which is the economic pillar. Then I'll be speaking about what foundation do you lay to be able to come up with this economic pillar. So we'll be speaking about the building blocks for the economic pillar. Then I will take you further and define debt. Once I define debt, then I'll be able to define wealth. When we define wealth, I will show you what is the difference between good and bad debt. This means that there is good and there is bad debt. So we'll be demystifying all this. Then to make this even better, I love speaking from my own experience. As I said, I have been a borrower. I have been a lender also. So I will be able to give you examples in this topic. The other thing that we'll be talking about is once we demystify the good and the bad debt, what does the bank look at when you approach it? I have seen we have some young people here. Probably what you have been taught is debt is bad. So we need to, once we demystify it, then once you approach the bank, what do they look at? Then I will end it with investment worth wealth. All my trainings don't end up with me advising. So I won't tell you to go for land Mundia or Mary Blessed. What I'll do is leave the chunk of the decision to you. So my job is coaching, not advising. So then I will end my session with your take home, the 8 key things that you need to remember. Once you remember those ones, then I will be good to go. So I start you off with this picture. I want you for 2 minutes on the side to tell me what you see. You can tell me what you see. So I'm giving you 2 minutes. I'll be reading what you write on the side. This will be where I pick my conversation from. So you can tell me what you see. What do you decipher from these 2 photos that I have put on your screen? I hope everybody can see it. So on the chat, you can tell me what you think about the pictures. So Kezia Tendani says somebody is running away from the bank loan. Matthew says the guy is being chased by loans. I've switched off my video because it takes too much bandwidth. So George says there is a health scare. George, you can clarify that? Some few answers also, some more answers, please. Ruth Charlo says 1 fearing loan. Very nice. Additional people, we have 2 minutes so that I can proceed. Anybody else who has, everybody is talking about fear of the bank loan other than George. Anybody else? Mundia says help will stop funding engineers. Too many unemployed guys in that field. So Mundia has just picked the whole headline and put it as what he has seen. Okay, that is nice. Then George says the communication of help to engineers. Okay. Anybody else? Wasted investment. James Maina, asante sana, umeona hiyo. Very key. Anybody else? I don't want to leave anybody out. We have a minute. Josephat Migu, you don't want to write anything. Okay. So we are talking about the 2 photos are a pictorial evidence of what happens to everyone. That each one of us has gone to school, but we are told that debt is bad. Some of us were taken to school through debt. So if I was asked, I would say debt is good. Then on the other side, I'm seeing help saying they will stop funding engineering courses in Kenya. This is scary, to say the least, as George said, because I'm imagining we want to move into an industrial and manufacturing country, but we are saying we are not funding these guys to go to school. So probably I pose the challenge to you. Are loans good or are loans bad? So here I'm seeing a guy running away from the bank loan. The other side is a government institution saying they are stopping to fund engineers. So, and the last thing that I wanted you to see is they lack meaningful return on investment for the courses. So they are saying there is a market glut, so there is unemployment. Additionally, there is very low return on investment. So key to here is this. There is the element of return on investment when you take a loan. So I am imagining you are a lender, you've given somebody money to go to school, they expected to finish school and get a job, they are not getting it. So HELB says this is wasted investment. So I am a great and ardent reader of the Bible, and I will start you off with 2 verses and a quote. So what we are talking about is the poor have no voice. I'm imagining most of the students that look for loans or student loans or go to HELB to get money, they are from poor communities, poor families, poor backgrounds. So my topic started by saying the poor have no voice, because if you deter them from going to school, we already are in a problem. So the other thing here that goes is this. Domhelda Kamara said, when I give food to the poor, they call me a saint. So people like you because you are giving them something. But when I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist. I think Dom here was saying the poor like getting handouts. But when you ask them why they are poor, they don't have an answer. They will get very angry. And I always like to say that I have come from a very humble background, and that is why probably I am where I am today, because I appreciate where I come from. So the other thing is I will take you to the book, Ecclesiastes 9:14-16. And it says, there was once a small city with only a few people in it, and a powerful king came against it, surrounded it, and built huge siege works against it. Now there lived in that city a poor man. Not here. There lived in that city a poor man, but wise. And he saved the city by his wisdom. So the Bible is telling us you can be poor but wise. I want you to get that point. You can be poor but wise, and you can save a city by your wisdom. Then it continues, but nobody remembered that poor man. So you are very wise, but nobody remembers you after everything you have done for the city. So I said, wisdom is better than strength, but the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are no longer heeded. So we have a very poor man. So nobody will listen to you because you are poor. So you can have very good words, but nobody will listen to you. So I take you back to our topic today. How do we use debt to create wealth? I will do a few more references to the Bible. One more. Give me a minute. 1 Kings 3:13-14. I think the others you can read, you can pick them up and read. But I'll speak about 1 Kings 3:13-14. Moreover, I will give you what you have not asked for, both wealth and honor. This was God talking to Solomon, that in your wisdom, I'll also add wealth. And he continues and says, and if you walk in obedience to me and keep my decrees. So on top of just getting wisdom, you have added wealth. Solomon was added wealth. And God says, if he walked like his father David, then in that obedience, he will also add him more life. I want you to picture this in real life, whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Hindu, or anything. This is a very simple statement, that God added Solomon wealth on top of wisdom, so that he is not like all other kings. Then on top of that, he told him, and if you keep my decrees and commands like your father did, I will give you long life. So I'm imagining you have wisdom, you are rich, and you can go to 1,000 years. Sidhani kuna mtu ataki maisha kama hiyo. Then of course, there are two other verses, which is Luke 16:19-22. Here we are talking about Lazarus, a beggar. You will find how I will pick it up in the later stages. where Lazarus was at the gate and he had very many sores. He was longing to eat. Then in Timothy, there is a specific verse that I wanted you to get, that anyone who does not provide for their relatives, because we always run away from this, but the Bible is saying, anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household. So if you have a family, if I'm a man and my wife is lacking, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So we are saying, the Bible is saying, you are like an infidel. Kwa wale ambao wanajua matusi, an infidel is somebody you don't want to be associated with. So that is that. So what did I get from those scriptures that are at the top? That the words of a poor man are rarely considered. Unaweza ongea, hata sasa inaweza ongea, lakini kama sina kakitu hamtasikia. So the words of a poor man are rarely considered, whether in decision making or anywhere. I read a joke one time where they were saying, if you are a relative and you don't have any money, wewe ndio unafungulia watu soda na meno huko ushago when there is a family meeting. So I'm imagining, if you are a poor man, whatever your point is, people will not listen. Then the other point is, God thought it very important to not only give Solomon wisdom, but also add him wealth. So on top of just wealth, on top of wisdom, he gave him wealth, and he told them, and he told him that if you stay in obedience to me and what your father did, I will add you more life. I think that is the gist of today's topic. Then I told you about Lazarus, and I look into that is this, that Lazarus and the rich man on their physical well-being. Lazarus, there is a description here that Lazarus was deceased. His sores were being licked by dogs. You can imagine what state of poverty that is. I don't think any of us who is able to access Zoom is at that level of poverty. So we are saying that Lazarus and the rich man are two different people. So Lazarus died and went to heaven. Of course, there is a verse after that. But what is safe to say here is that his poor lifestyle accelerated his death. So poverty can accelerate your death. I am back to Solomon. Solomon was told that if you walk in obedience, I will add you long life. I wouldn't say that Lazarus was not obedient, but what I'm seeing is he was looking for food. Dogs were licking his sores, vidonda. You have to get that picture in your head. So his poor lifestyle accelerated his death. Yani, ukiwa hauna kitu, wewe hakuna mtu anataka kukuona. You can imagine a dog licking your sores. Am I audible? Matthew?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I can continue. So with that in mind, I want us to talk about the economic pillar. As I started doing my overview, I told you that we will speak about the three key pillars of success. That is spiritual, social, and economic. But I will want to emphasize on one, which is the economic, because today we are talking about wealth. Wealth can be whatever you define it to be, but today we are talking about economic. So the economic pillar. Solomon said that money answereth all things. That with money, mtu yote akona swali unamjibu tu. Then the other thing was, no one wants to be associated with the poor. We have seen the case of Lazarus. Lazarus is at the gate. There's a dog licking him. You can imagine hiyo ni madharau kiasi gani. So I remember in Job 2 verse 9, Job's wife did not want to die, but she did not mind the death of her husband. Una imagine una kakitu, bibi hataki kukuona, and the wife went ahead and said, curse God and die. So wife alikuwa ako sawa bwana yake akikufa. Hata asemi curse God we die together, or curse God me and the children die. So she is saying, curse God and die, you as an individual. So no one wants to be associated with the poor. I can imagine when you put your wife in that position, but I would not want to have a wife such as this. Then the other thing, when we come to the spiritual realm, poverty hinders the preaching of the gospel. I am imagining you want the gospel to go to India, and you cannot go there. You cannot walk to that place. So poverty also hinders the preaching of the gospel. Then the other thing is the rich rules over the poor. That is in Proverbs 22, verse 7. So when you understand this economic pillar, I will be talking about 12 essential blocks that you need so that you understand how to build this specific pillar. So I hope I'm not speaking too fast, but the number one block is to understand the cash flow quadrant. How your money gets into your house and out. How your money gets into your pocket and out. So you have to know where you fall in the quadrant. And I always want to refer to Robert Kiyosaki, one of the richest men in the world. And when we are talking about that, he talks of 4 types of people. There is an employee, somebody who is self-employed, there is a business owner, and there is an investor. So today what we want to talk about more is not being the 3, an employee, a self-employed person, a business owner, but we want to speak about you becoming an investor. I want to demonstrate the differences. An employee is somebody who works for somebody and has an 8-to-5 job, has probably a consistent salary that he draws from the employer, which is then taxed, and he receives a net. A self-employed person, again, this is a person who has started a small biashara, and this person, again, is still employed because he has to work twice as hard to pay themselves. Then we have a business owner. These are the people who now employ employees. Business owners are people who have companies, and they are the ones who mostly hire the first person. Then we have investors. Investors are people who have shares in companies. So I know you have very many examples of this. We have people who buy stocks and shares. So investment is different from the other 3 types. Then the number 2 block is you utilize the power of many. That tunaambiwa hata na serikali, vijana shikaneni kwa kikundi, come up with what you can, we will finance. I don't know whether that is true because I have not tried, but I have worked in a microfinance, and I have seen a group move from borrowing 1,000 shillings all the way to becoming multi-millionaires. So no one has the monopoly of knowledge or ideas. So you need others so that you can be able to build yourself. This is what I usually call social capital. Yakina nani unajuana now. And you can also see this in the banking sector. Say for Safaricom imeshikana na NCBA. They are doing M-Shwari. Safaricom imeshikana na KCB. They have KCB M-Pesa. So there is something about the power of many. I would not want to dwell much more on that. But today's topic is, and one of the particular blocks that I want to speak about is becoming a serious borrower. So I put that in red specifically so that you can remember it. So we want to become serious borrowers. There is a difference. Serious borrowers. I didn't say serious defaulters because majority of Kenyans want to borrow but do not want to pay. So I want us to become serious borrowers, but good borrowers for that matter. Then I go to building block 4, that you have to be a high-level networker. How I got onto this platform today to speak to you is through networking. That Matthew met me on LinkedIn. We started a conversation. We broke the ice, and today I'm here talking on his behalf, on behalf of the Royal Youth Mentorship Program. So you have to show me when you show me your friends, I will tell you who you are. You can't be working with some funny characters and you are telling us that you are multimillionaire. You would want to tell us more. So I would want to know, are you a drug lord and you have people who now so you have to be a high-level networker, and the people that are surrounding you, we also need to see the same things that you talk about. Then the other thing is building block number 5, that you have to be a great risk taker. It is common knowledge that the higher the risk, the higher the returns. If you don't want to put money in a risky affair when you are young, of course you will have challenges when you grow old. Then there is the building block number 6, that you have to read and understand the biblical principles of wealth. The Bible is filled with so much wisdom. Whether you are a Christian again, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are who, there are so many biblical principles on wealth. Then there is a building block number 7, understanding the multiplication principle. One of the parables that I usually enjoy, and before even this session, I asked my own father to tell me again, to paraphrase the parable of the talents for me again. In Matthew 25:14-30, he talks about the multiplication principle. I'll be showing you how God hates savers and how banks also hate savers. So that is in the other slides. So you have to keep logged in. Then the other thing is understand that the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. When you get more money, when things are going well for you, you can imagine we don't want to see you in Kawangware huko ukitafuta hewa. You have to move to a place. So you utaingia Lavington. So the higher you go, the cooler it will become. That is a building block for financial success. Then the other thing that the wealthy have done is that they work smart, not hard. They will use people's brains. You have seen how Facebook continuously has innovations going for them. We have our very own Safaricom. At times I'm looking at the billions they are making, and it's a local company. It makes me think I need to start thinking more on what to do that will bolster me to the next level. So the poorer you are, the harder you work. Na hiyo si swali. Watu wengi hawana pesa. They work very hard. So you will find somebody with very hard hands. So the other thing is point number 10, that you have to understand the power of a seed. People don't want to start small. We are in a generation which is called the Nescafe generation. You want to start a job now, and tomorrow you gain millions. That is not how it works. So in this case, the seed in our case here symbolizes the income. Whether you are earning 1,000 or whether you are earning 100,000, you have to look at it. So here the seed symbolizes income, capital, or hard-earned money on you. So hidden in a small seed is an expansive forest. You can imagine your 1,000 can tomorrow change into something you have never seen. So you have to understand and appreciate the power of the seed. Then building block number 11, have more inflows than outflows. That also will form part of our major subjects today. You have to have more inflows than outflows. I gave you an example of the Aga Khan, where these are Ismaili Muslims who have engendered the ethos of self-reliance. That you have the Aga Khan University, you have the Aga Khan Hospital, you have everything you would need is in a specific way. So what are talking? If I want to bank, I have the bank that I go to. If I want a hospital, I have a hospital that I go to. Then the last and most critical thing, and why Matthew hosts these things, become a cheerful giver. The other day we saw the Equity Bank CEO donate millions to the COVID cause. So I'm imagining, why would such a man give out so much money? When I, as somebody who is just trying out, I can't even give 1,000 to the kitty. So we have to ensure that we first capture those 12 building blocks so that we are able to come up well when it comes to the economic pillar. So I would want to read out loud the parable of the talents, because I just had paraphrased. And here it goes. This is in Matthew 25:14-30, where it tells us of a master who was leaving his house to travel. And before leaving, he entrusted his property to his servants. I want you to follow me so that you understand why I said God hates bankers, God hates banks, God hates savers, and also banks hate savers. So according to the abilities of each man, one servant received 5 talents, the second had received 2, and the third received only 1. So Mungu alipea kila mtu ile kitu anaezana nayo. So when you are forcing yourself to become Matthew, God is telling you, at whatever position you are, I want to use that position to get you to the next level. So the property entrusted to the 3 servants was worth 8 talents, where a talent was a significant amount of money then. So upon returning home after a long absence, so alienda na akakaa. The master asks his 3 servants for an account of the talents. And sorry for that. For an account of the talents he entrusted to them. So he had entrusted unto them something. So the first and the second servants explained that they each put their talents to work. And you will read that they doubled the value of the property which they were entrusted with. So each servant was rewarded. But we have one person. He didn't do anything. He hid that talent somewhere. The one talent that he was given, as small as it was, he hid it somewhere. So the unfaithful servant in the parable did not waste the master's money. Aliweka, so hakuiwaste. He wasted an opportunity. So the master says, you should have at least put the talent in the bank. Some will say, some Bibles will say you should have given it to money exchangers and earned a small interest, because it is said money put in a bank earns a very small interest. So as a result, he was judged wicked and lazy. So God is telling you, I've given you 1 shilling. What have you done with it? So you will be judged wicked and lazy if he comes back and you have not multiplied the 1 shilling to 2. I hope I have not rushed. Any questions up till there? Matthew?
No, we are good.
We are good. Give me a minute. I think the net is hanging on my side. Give me a moment. So on my screen is one of the most loved and hated person in equal measure. Anaitwa Potters, the president of the United States, Donald Trump. This is what he said in 2016 June. I am the king of debt. I am great with debt. So he's saying, I am the king. I don't know whether anybody in our class today wants to be remembered as the king of debt. But where I'm leading you is to us becoming the kings of debt, like this guy, probably better. So nobody knows debt better than me. That Trump says he knows debt better than anybody. And he continues and says, I've made a fortune by using debt. And if things don't work out, I go and renegotiate the debt. So he already knows. Many of us, when we get into debt and mambo imeharibika na tunachotwa, you don't go renegotiating, you run away or you hide. And Trump says, I mean, that is a smart thing, not a stupid thing. So he is emphasizing that he is the king of debt. He is great with this debt, and nobody knows it better than he is. What is funny also is this. I have taught you about the quadrant at the top, where we are talking about the employee, the self-employed person, the business person, and the investor. That is Robert Kiyosaki. And on this other end is his friend, who is also speaking about him being a king of debt. So that tells you about something. So I go to definitions on what debt now is, because I moved from the loan. I said loan is a very small portion of debt. So debt is an obligation that requires one party, the debtor, to pay money or other agreed upon value to another party. So there is a transaction here. There is Matthew who has the money, or Mundia, and there is me who needs money. So there has to be an obligation. There comes an obligation, because once he gives me money, I'm obligated to pay back this money, whether today, in a week, with interest, or what. So that is what a debt is. Then there is also, debt is a deferred payment or series of payments. So a debt can be paid one-off, it can be paid twice, it can be paid as a balloon payment, but this differentiates it from an immediate purchase. So if today you are buying something in cash, it says that you can spread it over a long time, a period of time, but you will have to pay interest. Then I also go further and define now. We have defined debt, that there has to be a transaction. There is money exchanging hands, whether it is for free or it is at a percentage. That is what debt is about. Then when we talk about wealth, wealth is the abundance. I want you to note the word abundance. Wealth si pesa kidogo kidogo tumezoea, that you see somebody in Gucci shoes, you are very excited. We are talking about abundance. When you look at Bill Gates, you'll see them in t-shirts that are not labeled and all that. So we are saying wealth is the abundance of valuable financial assets or physical possessions, which can be converted into a form that can be used into transactions. So what this means is that it is an abundance of physical possessions. This is basically money. You have more money than you can use now, because rich is just you being able to support your life. But here we are saying you have more money, you can give more. So I think those two definitions are as simple as I could get. So I will define two things. That in an ideal world, the perfect amount of debt is no debt. Yani tuseme, watu bila deni ndio the best. But this is unrealistic for most people who would want to aspire to own a home, a car, or start a small business. I have, as I was reading through the names of who is here and what they do, I'm seeing also there are young people who are trying to build themselves up. There's an accountant, probably he has a small pay and he wants to buy a car in coming days. He wants to buy a home. He wants to start a small business. When we say that they don't borrow, it is unrealistic. So it is important to understand that there is good debt and there is bad debt. So here I put up the two differences, which I will also change as we proceed. So good debt typically has a lower interest, something you believe will grow in value over time. So some will tell you that buying a house today on mortgage, the house will increase in value. So that is a good debt as at now. Then the other thing is that if today help of course loans to students, because they expect that once this investment in school has been done and this guy gets his engineering degree, we will get a very high return on investment. So we are saying this is also considered good debt, but I'll also be asking you further questions ahead so that we are able to demystify what is good and what is bad. Then bad debt on the other end is typically higher interest debt, not backed by value increasing assets. This is a car or a credit card. That, give me a moment, somebody is writing. Oh, James Maina says, this is a nice discussion. You can get an exposition of the parable of talents from my book, The Secret of God's Kingdom. Asante sana, James Maina, namesake. So we are saying that bad debt is something that you're buying. It is of higher interest rate, and probably it is depreciating. So here we are talking, you have taken money to buy a car. You have taken money, you are using a credit card to buy things. Kiyosaki says people who don't have credit cards are fools. You will also, as I said, I'm just a coach. You will decide what you use this information for. So the other thing is, give me a minute, my machine is hanging. If you have a question, you can raise it on the side. If I'm talking too fast also, you can notify me. Give me a minute, my machine has hung. So on the side, I want us to do a small exercise. It is a breather for all of us. So my question, I showed you the first photo where we had a guy running away from something. It was written bank loan. And on the other side, there was help saying they don't think loans to students are giving them a good return on money. So I'm asking two questions.